Hi, everybody. This is Dana Shibley with Verifyle. Let's go ahead and begin today's presentation. It looks like about 90% of you are completely new to Verifyle, so I'll do a very thorough demonstration of Verifyle today. And for that 10% of you who already are using Verifyle or are very familiar with it, please know that I will be showing some new features that we have added as well. Okay, so let's get started here. All of us here at Verifyle are extremely pleased about the partnership that we have in place with CALDA. And all of you as CALDA members should be aware that because of that partnership, you get full access to the premium version, the paid version of Verifyle, which is Verifyle Pro at no charge to you or anyone at all with whom you would like to share information. You get access to the full suite of capabilities inside of Verifyle Pro, including the ability to brand it as you would like, and also unlimited electronic signatures capability. You can access your Verifyle Pro system by simply going to verifyle.com and then sign in for free using the email address by which CALDA recognizes you to be a member. Again, just go to verifyle.com, sign in for free using the email address by which CALDA recognizes you to be a member. If you use a different email address, then eventually you will be asked to supply a credit card number, and you should not have to do that because CALDA has picked up that tab for you. All right, quick caveat here. I am not an expert in your field. I am not an LDA. But all of you should know that I have put together some very helpful general sharing examples here to really stress the key concepts for use behind Verifyle and get you up and rolling with it as quickly as possible. There are professionals using Verifyle primarily for secure sharing. Others are using it primarily for secure storage. There are a number of professionals who are using Verifyle for securely sharing information back and forth with internal colleagues and so forth. And then there are many folks who are using Verifyle exclusively for securely sharing sensitive information back and forth with their clients. Others still use Verifyle to selectively and securely share and store sensitive personal and family information. We'll look at a number of these different examples. Some quick background information about Verifyle. We're based in Silicon Valley, and we are led by Jack Smith, who is the individual who invented and co-founded the company Hotmail, which was many people's first experience with both email and the internet. He also had leading roles with two successful digital security companies, Ironport and Proximex. Verifyle is all about making communication better. And we see two key aspects of communication. Those are security and productivity, neither of which should come at the expense of usability. The reason we place such persistent emphasis on security is that we believe the near-term future of business will be characterized by two types of organizations and professionals. Those who make that extra effort to protect and secure their own information and that of their constituents and continue to reap the long-term trust relationship benefits that derive from that. And those organizations and professionals who do not protect that information and see a gradual erosion in those trust relationships. We believe that the dividing line between those two types of professionals is going to really continue to crystallize over the next several years. And we want to make sure that all of our users fall on the positive side of that line. So what is Verifyle? Verifyle is ultra secure messaging and document sharing and storage all on a single screen, where in that single screen, for each situation that you're working on, whether that be a client engagement, project management, or any kind of sharing or storage of sensitive information, you can see exactly who has access to what information and if and when any single individual has looked at or downloaded any information. So you always have a very heightened sense of situational awareness, not only from your perspective of the communication, but in terms of what's going on the other side of that communication as well. So you can think of Verifyle as your all-in-one communication power tool, specifically designed for those situations that you have to be absolutely on top of, that must be well organized, and above all, private and secure. Now, in our secure single screen, we've incorporated the most powerful components of email, cloud file sharing, unlimited electronic signatures, and our patented encryption key management technology, CELUcrypt, which manages the interaction of 6 different encryption keys each time that any individual accesses any single piece of information inside of Verifyle. So each data item inside of Verifyle has been individually encrypted, such that even if somebody were to break past our encryption, which they won't, all they'd be able to access would be a single data item, and that's it. So there's no potential for somebody to be able to break into Verifyle and scoop mass amounts of data to gain what we call bulk access, as they have done with systems like those at JP Morgan Chase, Experian, Home Depot, Target, Hilton, Wendy's, Sony, Verizon, Anthem, to the tune of something like 80 million individuals' data files, or Equifax to the tune of about 145 million individuals' data files. With Verifyle, there's no real incentive for someone to try and break in the first place, because there's not that potential for a large-scale return on that hacker's efforts. So this is a huge reduction in risk for anyone who uses Verifyle. In fact, we would go as far as to say that it's a complete game changer in terms of your overall information risk profile. And we'll talk more about how this impacts you directly as we go through today's demonstration. Please keep in mind that you'll be seeing the demonstration from my perspective, from the perspective of a user, and that even though Verifyle is backed by all this encryption technology, by all of this security, as users, we don't need to create any encryption keys, memorize any encryption keys, manage or share any encryption keys at all. It all happens automatically, completely behind the scenes for us. Let's go ahead and take a look. All of you should now be able to see the sign-in screen for Verifyle, which you can access using any of the major browsers, and it doesn't matter whether you're using a Mac, a PC, or a tablet computer. You're also welcome to use our handy mobile app if you would like. All right, I'm going to now sign in using my email address and password. I click next, and I have selected the option inside of Verifyle such that an authenticator code is also being requested of me. The authenticator code is a code that appears on my mobile device, in this case, my mobile phone, and it changes every 30 seconds. The benefit of using this second factor of authentication, this authenticator code, is that even if somebody does somehow get a hold of my password, they still won't be able to access my Verifyle system unless they also have my mobile phone. And I do have the ability to click in this little box right here, which basically tells Verifyle, hey, Verifyle, if on future sign-in attempts, you can see that that attempt is coming from the same machine that I'm using right now, my machine, and also the same browser, there's no need to ask for this additional authenticator code. But if you see the sign-in attempt is coming from anything else, then definitely ask for the authenticator code. All right, so I'm going to type in that authenticator code. And now I'm inside of Verifyle. All right, and on the home screen of Verifyle here, the first thing I want to point out is that you can see the CALDA logo up at the top center. When you use Verifyle inside of a workspace, if you communicate with one of your clients, that client will see that CALDA logo as a default. However, you can swap out that CALDA logo for any logo of your choice by simply clicking on your name at the top right and then going into account settings and adding any logo that you want. All right, we'll take a look at that in more detail in just a few minutes here. The other thing I want to point out to you from the home screen here is that there are 2 major areas inside of your Verifyle Pro system. There is the Workspaces area, which we are in right now, and you can see that by the fact that the Workspaces tab is highlighted. Let's start out by going into the Contacts area, which I can access by clicking on the Contacts tab. Click. All right, I'm in the Contacts area now, and you can see my list of contacts here inside of Verifyle. These are all people with whom I can communicate securely on a one-to-one basis by simply clicking their name. And then in the center of my screen here, a private messages area opens up between me and that particular individual, where I can type any message that I like to that individual, and I can also click on the paperclip symbol to upload any type of file I would like to securely share with that individual. Let's look at a more realistic example here. Let's say that I meet a new person and I want to immediately open up a secure one-to-one communication channel with that person. Let's say that person's name is Christine Carson. So I click on the plus symbol here, and now all I need to do is type in Christine's name and email address and click add. All right, so there you can see that Christine Carson's name has been added to my contacts list. And in the center here opens up a private messages area between me and Christine. All right, so I'll type a message to Christine, just like that. And I'm going to securely share a document with her. How about I'll click on this here, and let's say that I share a divorce settlement document with her. All right. Now I click send. That information is all encrypted as it's pulled into Verifyle. And here it is, the message that I wrote, hi Christine, and also the divorce settlement document. And you can see the divorce settlement document expanded on over here where I can do some things to it. We'll take a look at that in just a few minutes. The most important thing for you to understand right now is that what has happened as I typed this information, as I added this information into Verifyle, Verifyle has behind the scenes automatically sent an email alert to Christine Carson that lands in her regular email box, and it tells her that I, Dana Shibley, using the secure system Verifyle, am sharing with her a divorce settlement document and also a private message securely inside of Verifyle. None of that content is in that email alert that she received. Why? Because email is not secure. We don't want to be sending sensitive information back and forth via email. However, Christine can click on the link in that email alert, which brings her into Verifyle, and then she can choose to either create her own password or click straight through on the automatically generated password there, and then get full access to the private message I gave her, hi Christine, and also be able to fully access the divorce settlement document. If she looks at it, I instantly receive an email alert letting me know she's looked at it. If she downloads it, I receive an immediate email alert letting me know that she has downloaded it. So I know what's happening on the other side. Okay, let's take a look real quick here and see how this looks from Christine Carson's perspective on the other side. All right, so I'm now going to sign in as Christine Carson. I'm going to be Christine Carson here, okay? I would have received an email alert, or I might have already been working inside of Verifyle for one reason or another. And if that's the case, I would first see this internal alert right here. And I, Christine Carson, click here, and what do I see? I can see the private message from Dana Shibley, and Dana has said to me, hi Christine, and he shared with me a divorce settlement document, which I can click on here, or I can click on over here, and it opens it up, and I can preview it or download it. Both of those actions, as I mentioned, giving an alert to Dana. And also those access instances are logged for Dana to look at anytime that he would like. All right, so as Christine, I'm going to type a message back to Dana. All right, and notice that the interface that I see here is the same one that Dana sees on his side, right? Very simple. I type my message in here at the bottom. And let's see. Okay, and as Christine Carson, I also can click on this paperclip symbol if I would like to securely share any document back with Dana, just as you would expect, right? All right, so I click send. As Christine Carson, I click send here. And now let's go back and let's look again from Dana's perspective. I'm now back in Verifyle as Dana, the LDA, and I can see the message that Christine Carson has typed back to me, okay? So I know she has gotten access to everything that I shared with her, and the main point here is for me to show you how simple it is to quickly set up a secure one-to-one communication with anybody. Okay, all you need to do is click on the plus symbol in the contact area right here, and then type in that person's name and email address, and then you're rolling, right? Okay, now I'm reading the message here. I, Dana Shibley, the LDA, am reading the message from Christine Carson. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, it looks like Christine might actually become a client of mine. And she's asking to bring her spouse into this communication too. Okay, all right. And she's also asked me about some things about some estate planning issues and so forth, and also about some counseling issues. So I might have a number of different threads of communication, a number of different topics within which I want to communicate to Christine. Okay, and there might be actually different people involved in these different threads of communication. So I think I'm going to possibly need some higher level communication capabilities here. And those are all things that I can handle inside of Workspaces. All right. So with the anticipation of having deeper communications with Christine Carson, I'm going to go up to the Workspaces tab and click on it. And here you can see some situations for which I've already built Workspaces, right? These are situations where the reason I've created Workspaces for them is because they probably have multiple people involved and a lot of documents going back and forth over a long period of time. And then I'm bringing some people into the communication threads, different communication threads, pulling some out at a different time, maybe different topics are springing up, and so on and so forth. These are all situations for which I want to create a workspace, right? If it's a very, very simple client and we're just really passing a few things back and forth, I could probably handle everything over in the contacts area where I began. But let's say I anticipate doing some deeper work with Christine Carson. So I'm going to go back to the Workspaces area. I'm going to click on the plus symbol here to create a new workspace. And I will call that new workspace Client Christine Carson. There it is. And you'll note that I, Dana Shibley, am the host of the workspace. Why am I the host of the workspace? Because I am the creator of the workspace. All right. And I'm very much the person who is the orchestrator, or the person who's large and in charge of exactly who's going to be in this workspace, who's not going to be in this workspace, what the topics are, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All the other people that I add into this workspace are guests, and they don't have those same capabilities that I have. To add different people, to add different topics, and so on and so forth. So let's click in here. I'm going to click into the Client Christine Carson workspace. Here we are. You can see the title up here at the top, Client Christine Carson, and basically we have a blank workspace, right? And that's because we haven't done anything yet. All right, so I'm going to follow Verifyle's prompt and add a guest. So I click here, and first I'm going to do a search for Christine Carson. There she is, and I add her. And the Verifyle system has just added Christine Carson as a guest in my workspace here, okay? And the Verifyle system has recognized, oh, Christine Carson. Dana already had a secure one-to-one communication, a private message going on with her in the contacts area. He might still find that very convenient to access here in the larger workspace. So Verifyle's brought Christine Carson in here, and I can see the private message thread that I already began with her over in the contacts area. But the reason that I created this workspace, Client Christine Carson, in the first place was so that I could take advantage of the higher level communication capabilities we discussed. And I can do that inside of Workspace threads. So I click on the plus symbol here, and I'm going to create one workspace thread called Estate Planning. All right. I'm going to create another one called Therapy and Counseling. Okay. There's a second workspace thread. Okay. Let's first start in the estate planning workspace thread. So I click on it here, and you can see that it is private. No guests have access yet. Okay. Here it is in the center because I've selected it here. Estate planning, no guests have access yet. So I need to tell Verifyle who's going to get access to this workspace thread. That's very easy, okay? All I need to do is move over here to the left, and you'll notice that as I move my cursor around, a number of little gear symbols pop up, okay? wherever you are in Verifyle, if you feel confused about what to do next, if things are unclear, go to the gear. That's a corny little jingle for you to remember, but it will serve you very well as you use Verifyle. When things are unclear, go to the gear. There are gear symbols all over Verifyle. So I'm going to click on the gear symbol, and then I go to Manage Permissions to decide who I want to get access to the estate planning workspace thread. So I click on Manage Permissions, and I want Christine Carson to have access, just like that. And now I can see that she does, right? But remember that she told me, she wrote down that she wanted me to bring in her spouse to this workspace thread right here as well, right? She wanted to involve her spouse. So how am I going to do that? I go to the gear, click Manage Permissions, okay, and I'm going to add her spouse. Now, he's not going to be in my contacts list because I've never communicated with him before. So I'm just going to click the plus symbol right here, and I'll add his name. Let's say his name is Sammy Spouse, and I'll type in his email address. All right, there we go. So I click Add. All right, and there's Sammy. He's been added right there. I click Add One. And now I save, and I can see that Christine and Sammy both have access to the estate planning workspace thread. I'll type a message in here for them. All right, like that. And I will click on the paperclip symbol right here, and I will pull in some documents, okay? How about probate administration? I'll go ahead and bring that in. And all right, that's not interesting enough. Let's pull in some more documents here. I will go over and pull in some other estate planning documents. Okay, how about power of attorney document, letter of intent, and living trust document, and life insurance policy. By the way, I can simply drag and drop these documents in like that if I would like to. Much easier, right? All right, so I pulled in those documents. Okay, those are all encrypted as they're brought into Verifyle. And you can see now that I, Dana Shibley, the LDA, am sharing with Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse these 5 documents, which are also highlighted or expanded on over here on the right. I can look under each document at the colored tiles and cross-reference those with the colored tiles over here on the left to see exactly who has access to each document. And you'll notice probably that as I move my cursor around, I can see the gear symbols, right? So if I click on the gear symbol for any document, there are a number of things I can do, including renaming the document, viewing the access history for the document, which means I can see exactly who has and has not looked at the document, date and time they've looked, and how many times they've looked at the document, okay? And that can all come in handy, as we'll see in just a moment here. All right. Oh, and the other thing that you should notice, excuse me, is that I can also delete the document. Why can I delete this document? Because I am the host of this workspace, client Christine Carson. The guests, Christine and Sammy, cannot delete this document, okay? Because they are guests. Only I, the host, can do that. All right. Let's go to the other workspace thread, therapy and counseling. Okay, so I'm going to go into the therapy and counseling workspace thread, and here you can see it in the center now. And let's say that I'm going to give access to both Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse. And that's it for now, okay? Not a third person, all right? And then I will go ahead and type in a message for them. I will pull in a few documents here. How about I pull in a just a checkup results document for now, okay? All right, so I pull in that document and I click send. All right, and then finally, as I'm thinking about my client, Christine Carson, it occurs to me that it would be extremely handy if I could have a place to put information just for my reference that I don't plan on sharing with Christine Carson or Sammy Spouse or anybody else for that matter. So that's easy enough. I'll go to Workspace Threads, click on the plus symbol, and I'm going to create a Workspace thread that I call My Reference Materials, just like that, okay? There it is. It's private. No guests have access yet. Here it is in the center. No guests have access yet. I'm going to click on the gear symbol, and I will go in and pull in a few documents. How about just like that? All right. So I pull in a couple documents, and there they are. Okay. So those 2 documents are now inside of Verifyle, but only I have access to them. Nobody else has access. So they are effectively in secure, encrypted storage inside of Verifyle. All right. Each of them protected by 6 unique encryption keys, just like every other document in Verifyle that happens to be shared with someone, perhaps. Okay. So nobody else can access these. They're in storage right where I need them to be, where I'm having my communications with this particular client. And if at any point in the future I do decide to share these documents, then as you know, all I need to do is go over to the left here, click on the gear symbol, go to manage permissions, and give other people access. Okay, so hopefully now you're getting a sense for how with your clients that you are doing a lot with, that might have a more complex situation, et cetera, it would really benefit you to go ahead and create a workspace. Okay, and in this workspace, if you haven't caught on to this, effectively each of these workspace threads serves as a dynamic subfolder within the larger organizational framework of the workspace. Okay, so as I mentioned, each of these workspace threads can have different documents and different people inside of it, right? And I control that. Okay, and if I want to talk to anybody on a one-to-one basis, then all I need to do is go ahead and click on that individual's name here at the top, which opens the private message with that individual. Okay, if I've started it. If not, then I can also just start it from right here and access it anytime I would like from the contacts area as well. All right, let's see what all this looks like from Christine Carson's perspective. Okay, so I'm now going to go back into Verifyle. As Christine Carson, I would have received an email alert, and internally as Christine Carson, I would also see this new workspace pop up, Client Christine Carson. And as Christine, I click here, and I can see 2 workspace threads, right? Therapy and counseling and estate planning, okay? And for each of these workspace threads, I've been given some documents and maybe some messages and so forth. And as I go in and I access each of the documents, what happens is it clears that alert, right? So that clears the alert here. And let's say that the life insurance policy is particularly of interest here. So the first thing I decide to do as Christine Carson is, okay, I got to refresh my mind and take a quick look at that. So I just looked at the life insurance policy. That just sent an email alert to Dana. And by downloading it, that also just sent an email alert to Dana that has been logged. So Dana's aware of what I'm doing inside of Verifyle, okay? And as I'm in here looking at estate planning, let's say that it occurs to me that I'd like Dana to go ahead and pull my attorney into here as well, because I want my attorney's feedback. So I just type a message to Dana, please all right. And now I'm going to go back and look from Dana's perspective in the estate planning area. So there's a message from Christine Carson, please pull in my attorney. So now I'll go ahead and what do? My client, Christine Carson, was not able to pull her attorney into the workspace thread because she herself is a guest, but she's asked me to pull in her attorney. So I, now looking as Dana here, can go click on the gear symbol, click on manage permissions, and I will go ahead and pull in her attorney. Let's say her attorney is Lisa Lawyer, just like that. And I save. And now Lisa Lawyer, as well as Christine Carson and Sammy Spouse, have access to the estate planning workspace thread. So I might type a message here to welcome Lisa or something to that effect, okay? And now if I go ahead back and look again as Christine Carson, I can see as Christine Carson that Dana's brought in Lisa Lawyer to the estate planning workspace thread, okay? And as I'm looking in here, okay, it occurs to me, let's say some months pass and so forth, and then it occurs to me that, you know what, Lisa Lawyer, she's been involved here for 8 or 9 months, and she's not adding so much value here after all, and she's rather expensive. I actually don't want Lisa Lawyer to be involved in my estate planning. So you can see where this is going. As Christine Carson, I might type a message back to Dana to get rid of the attorney. I probably wouldn't type it here because Lisa Lawyer is actually going to see it. But what I can do is simply go up here and click on Dana Shibley, who is the Workspace host, right? And type a message to change the attorney, for example, right? And then I can go back in as Dana, and I will see the message from Christine Carson indicating that I should change the attorney. And there it is in the private messages area to change the attorney. So what I can do as the host of this workspace, only as the host of this workspace, I can now go into the estate planning workspace thread, click on the gear symbol, click on manage permissions. I can remove access for Lisa Lawyer, and I can then go ahead and add access for the new attorney of my client. Let's say that new attorney is named Lenny Lawyers. There we go. Okay, so now Lenny Lawyers, the new attorney, has access to what might be 2 years of information, dozens and dozens of documents, hundreds of time and date stamped messages, and so forth here. Lenny Lawyers will not only see that entire historical transcript of all the communications regarding estate planning for Christine Carson and Sammy's spouse, but also any comments and any documents that were added by the previous attorney, Lisa Lawyer, who no longer has access to any of this information. All right, so I made a quick transfer of that historical knowledge to the new attorney. Okay, imagine trying to do that quickly and easily using email and email attachments. It's darn near impossible. All right, now, as the LDA, Dana here, it occurs to me at some point in time here, you know what? That life insurance policy was actually very critical to our thinking here. I want to make sure that everyone's looked at it. And so how do I do that? All I need to do is go over here to the right to the life insurance policy, click on the gear symbol, and then I can click view access history. I can see that Lenny Lawyers, the new attorney, hasn't looked at it yet. Sammy's spouse hasn't looked at it yet, but Christine Carson has looked 2 times. And if I click here, I can see the exact dates and times that Christine Carson has looked at this document. If I can see that she's looked at this document 25 times in the last month or 2 or whatever, that's a good tip off to me that this document is important to her and I better be ready to talk about it. Similarly, if I can see that she just looked at this document 5 minutes ago and I have a phone call scheduled with her in 15 minutes, that's also a good tip off to me that I better be on my toes and ready to discuss this with her, right? So Verifyle is helping raise my situational awareness. Similarly, at any time that I would like, whether I'm working inside of a private message, a one-to-one communication with somebody, or a workspace thread, like the estate planning workspace thread right now, at any time I can click on an individual's name and see when they were last inside that thread, regardless of whether or not they have done anything, right? So Lenny Lawyers hasn't even been in here yet. Christine Carson was last in here on February 9th at 12:37 p.m. Okay, so this gives me a sense of the recency of this information in my client's mind. Again, just helping me do my best in terms of being on my toes to know what's going on with my client and best service my client. All right, so moving ahead here. In your world, I would imagine that getting signatures is a pretty important thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward here. And I'm going to click on therapy and counseling. Okay, this workspace thread. And let's say that I want to get a signature from Christine Carson and Sammy's spouse on a particular document. All right, so how do I do that? And again, you get unlimited electronic signatures inside of Verifyle. So all I need to do is type a message, click on the paperclip symbol. I can bring any document that I would like in here. Let's say that I decide to put an engagement letter in here. All right. All right, so I put in the engagement letter. And as you know, if I click send right now, Verifyle simply shares this document with Christine Carson and Sammy's spouse. But what I want is a signature from them. So I'm going to click here on request signing and then click send, okay? All right, so here are the two people, Christine Carson and Sammy's spouse. Okay, and let's say that I want Christine Carson to be the first person to sign this document. Okay, so there we go, Christine Carson I want to be first, and then Sammy's spouse. And then I click next. All right, and now for the first signer, Christine Carson, I have a couple of questions to answer. Do I want to require this signer to agree to the terms below, to agree to do business electronically? Okay, if I don't need her to agree to that before signing, I can just click here. No, do not include a statement of terms. But in fact, I do want her to agree to this. And depending on what you're doing, you may actually want to change the statement of terms. But this is a pretty common statement of terms that is required. Okay, so I'll leave it as is. The second decision is, do I want to add SMS verification to the signature process? Okay, let's say that I do. I want SMS verification with the signature process. So I need to go ahead and type in the signer's verified phone number, her mobile phone number. Okay, so I'll do that. All right, and now I need to do the same thing for Sammy's spouse. Yes, I want to require him to agree to do business electronically. And do I want to add SMS verification? Yes, I do. So I will add in Sammy's phone number. Like that. And now for this particular document, I'll go ahead and expand it so it's a little easier to work with. Okay, and for Christine Carson, I need to indicate where I want her signature. I want her signature to be right here. Okay, so I draw the rectangle. I'm using my mouse cursor on my screen, right? And I want the signature to be right here. If I click on the rectangle, I can choose whether I want initials to be there or a date or whether I want it to be a custom field or whatever. So I want it to be a signature, all right? And let's say I want there to be a date right here, all right? And now I click next signer. And so the next signer is Sammy's spouse. So let's say that I want Sammy's spouse's signature here. Okay, and then let's say I want Sammy's initials to be right here. Okay, then I click finish request and click submit request. And now what's happened is that the Verifyle system has requested a signature of Christine. She's been notified via email alert and also an internal alert inside of Verifyle that her signature on the engagement letter is being requested. So I'm going to go back in as Christine Carson. Okay, and as Christine Carson, I'm inside of Verifyle in the therapy and counseling workspace thread. I can see the alert for me to review and sign this document, the engagement letter. So I click here on review and sign, and I agree to do business electronically. I'm going to click yes, because if I click no, I will not be allowed to proceed, right? Per the instructions from Dana, the LDA. All right, so I click yes. And now I'm going to enter the 7-digit code, which I would have just received on my mobile phone. Okay, and that 7-digit code is, there we go. I click submit, and I can edit or confirm my signature here. And then I confirm that my signature goes here and that the date goes here. Okay. So Dana has just been alerted that I have signed this document, and now Sammy has been alerted that it is his turn to go in and sign this particular document. But let's go back and look from Dana's perspective. Okay, so I'm back in as Dana here, and I can see that Christine has signed the engagement letter. Okay, so I can click here or I can click over here. Okay, and by the way, I can see that Sammy has been notified that it's his turn to sign the engagement letter. And as Dana, the LDA, I can come over here and I will go ahead and preview the document, knowing that just Christine has signed it. All right, and I can see where Christine has signed and dated the document right here. Okay, because we have a time restriction, I'm not going to go in as Sammy and go ahead and go through the same process, but Sammy's going to do everything that Christine just did. Okay, and then I'll have the document that has been signed by both of them, right? And notice that Verifyle is giving internal alerts about what's going on, as well as I would be receiving external alerts via email alert, letting me know what has happened with this client of mine as well. And at any point during this process, yes, I have the ability to go over here and I can click on View Signing Info, where I can see a document signing audit report that has a bunch of metadata related to me requesting the signature and information showing that I have requested a signature of Christine Carson, okay, on this date and time, that her IP address has been collected here, and that she has accepted to agree to do business electronically, and she has successfully passed the SMS verification process, okay? And after Sammy's spouse signs this document, I will also see that authentication audit report information here as well, all right? And at any point in time, I can click print here to print out this document signing audit report as a PDF or as a hard copy. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close that out. And one thing that's subtle here, but hopefully many of you noticed, in my view here as Dana, the LDA, I've got 3 workspace threads that I see, right? But if I go in and I look from Christine Carson's perspective, right? I'm Christine Carson now. I only see 2 of those 3 workspace threads. And why is that? Because Dana has only given me access to these 2. For all I know, he might have 25 other workspace threads that he's using to manage my information, possibly get some people involved behind the scenes, work with his partner, whatever, okay? But I don't even know if he has any other workspace threads, and if he does, I'm only going to see the ones that Dana has shared with me, right? And if Dana wants to really be a top-notch professional, and I'm the type of client who would appreciate it, Dana might have built a number of different workspace threads here to kind of break my information into even further categories, so that whenever I sign in to Verifyle as Dana's client, I see kind of this portfolio view of different workspace threads with documents inside of each workspace thread that are relevant to that particular situation, okay? All right, so I'll go back in as Dana again, and I'm back in as Dana, the LDA, right? And hopefully you're getting a sense for how I can use this workspace environment to work with clients where I have these deeper, more complex, more voluminous communication needs. And one of the things that you'll find from people is that if you talk to someone who's been using Verifyle for a number of months, they will tell you that the reason that they first took a look at Verifyle was because of all of the security aspects that I've told you about that allow them to sleep well at night, knowing that their information, that their client's information is safe and secure inside of Verifyle. Okay, that's why they started looking at Verifyle, but the reason they stuck with it is because of the usability, and more specifically, the fact that for any given client of theirs or any given situation of theirs, they really have it all in a single place, where if someone asks them out of the blue about it, or if they need to pull it up and think at a high level about it, they can instantly see all the people involved here in the guests area, what all the topics are, the workspace threads, and the key documents in kind of this single pane of glass, so that they're not working and thinking in terms of this task, that task, that task, but can kind of holistically wrap their head around it and think strategically about how to best service that client. Now, here in our part of the state, there are a lot of software companies, as you can imagine, here in Silicon Valley, and many of them will try and have you believe that the best software has a lot of different pages and a lot of different buttons and so on and so forth. But we do everything we can to reduce scatter, because the fact of the matter is that great software is software that allows you to accomplish more while doing less. And it allows you to understand more while looking at less. And our workspace environment allows that to happen. Okay, some other things you should be aware of is that in Verifyle, you do have unlimited PDF editing, which means that you can go to any PDF document, okay, and you have the ability to click on the pen symbol here, and you can change the order of the pages of that particular PDF document. You can click on the X to delete pages from any PDF document. Okay, you can click on Add Annotation, which allows you to go ahead and annotate any document. And it also allows you to merge documents. So you can merge multiple PDF documents inside of Verifyle as well. All right, so I'll go ahead and close that out. And the other thing you should be aware of is that inside of Verifyle, when you are inside of a workspace, you have the ability to click on any particular document. Let's pick one more interesting. There we go. Okay, and you have the ability to click on the thumbnail for that document and simply drag and drop it over to any other workspace thread or into the private message, the one-to-one communication with any other individual if you would like. Very easy to do that, so you always have your workspace environment set up in a way that's most efficient for you. Okay, and then the other thing I want to point out is that from the home screen here, if you're looking at your workspaces, and think in terms of one workspace for each of your major clients that you're doing a lot of deep work for. Okay, those that are very simple situations, you might just be fine working right out of the contact area, to be honest. Okay, but for workspaces, in terms of a workspace for each of those major clients, don't put multiple clients inside of a single workspace. You will very quickly get confused. Okay, it's just a heads up for you there. All right, and in terms of order, being able to look at these workspaces at any time, you can go over to this little tab on the right and click on it, and this allows you to sort those workspaces by updated date. I think of that as recency. And you can sort by host first name, workspace name, et cetera, et cetera. Similarly, if you're in your contacts area, you can click on the tab and sort by recency or by alphabetical or whatever you would like. And just so that I don't forget to mention it, all of you should be aware that since CALDA is a long-term partner of ours, you all actually get not only the regular version of Verifyle Pro, but you get access to the legacy version of Verifyle Pro, which gives you access to not just 30 workspaces, but you can host up to 1,500 workspaces. All right, so you will not run out of those. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you one workspace here that, although it may not be directly relevant to what you do, I think you might find it helpful in terms of thinking about how to optimally structure your workspaces. Okay, so let's say a particular client of mine is the Rockefeller family. All right, and let's say this is a family that has a lot of extended family member issues and also business matters as well, and I help them with those. Okay, so I'm going to click on Rockefeller family. Okay, and my main client is Ricky Rockefeller. Okay, and Ricky has a number of documents that people in his family and also his professional network are interested in, including his last will and testament, his life insurance policy, and his asset list. So as I mentioned, he's got immediate and extended family members like Rhonda Rockefeller and Susie's stepsister that are interested in this information, as well as his business partner, Ed Executive, his financial advisor, Arnold Advisor, and so on and so forth. Okay, so in addition to being a great LDA, I also am serving as a professional, secure steward of Ricky Rockefeller's information out to those people in his immediate and extended family and professional network. All right, so per Ricky's instruction, I make sure that the right people get access to the right information and that I have confirmation about if and when they have looked at or downloaded that information, and I have the ability to communicate one-to-one with any of those people at any time that I would like. And I have also set up sensible workspace threads, including legal requirements, tax considerations, estate planning, and so forth, so that I can cluster those people in his network as necessary to get access to the proper information. So in a very long-winded way, what I'm trying to say to you is that I have put myself in a position so that I'm not only an LDA, but I am upping my game as a high-performance professional and placing myself as a professional steward of his information, right? So that the right people get access to the right information. And this is a very, very sticky kind of relationship that I put myself in with him. on top of the fact that I'm keeping his information secure and that it would be difficult for him to detach from me, I'm also getting exposure to other professionals and family members in his network, some of whom might also become clients of mine. All right, all of us as professional service providers are always trying to up our game, and Verifyle puts you in a great position to be able to do that if you think a little bit creatively. All right, so I'm going to go back to the home screen here, and we need to start wrapping up. So I want to, again, go to the contacts area. So I click on the contact tab at the top left. And remember, if you just want to quickly be able to communicate with somebody, you can do it right out of the contacts area by clicking on the plus symbol, typing in their name and email address, and you are rolling. Okay. So if I click on the plus symbol here, not only can I add individuals one at a time, but I have the ability to bulk import contacts from other software systems so that I immediately have this full list right here, right? And can just click on a name to have secure communications with those individuals. All right. And the way that I bulk import contacts is by using the CSV file format. That is the standard file format that software companies use to export and import contact information. And there is a mini tutorial video. If you go to youtube.com and type in Verifyle contacts, you will see how you can easily do that. If you have any problems at all, if you need some help, just email us at support@verifyle.com and we'll be happy to help you do that. All right. And then the other thing I need to point out to you here is that if you click on your name at the top right inside of Verifyle, you can click on Account Settings, and there you have the ability to edit your name. You can change your email address. You can edit your signature. You can swap out the CALDA logo for any logo of your choosing. You can see how much of your storage that you have used. So you can see here that I've used 15 megs of my 100 gigs of allotted Cellucrypt encrypted storage space. That's a tiny, tiny fraction of 1% of my space that I've used. So I don't suspect any of you are going to be bumping up against that limit. And automatically send alerts I have left as on. All right. And this is what makes it so that whenever I add information into Verifyle, the recipient, the intended recipient of that information is automatically alerted via email alert, right? And document activity alerts I am leaving as on. This is what makes it so that if somebody looks at or downloads information I've shared with them, I automatically receive an email alert to that effect. Message edit I have left as on. Some of you might prefer to have it so that the messages you share back and forth with other people are uneditable. If that's the case, just click here to turn that off. All right. And block list. Blocking somebody in Verifyle is not a bad thing. It simply makes it so that when that person shares information with you in Verifyle, you won't receive that external email alert, although you will always see that internal alert inside of Verifyle, the numbers and the red dots and so forth. Okay, so for example, if there's someone you're sharing information with all the time, you're in Verifyle all the time, they're in Verifyle all the time, you don't need an email alert every time that person puts something inside of Verifyle for you. You'll definitely see it. Okay, security settings. You have the ability to change your password here. You also have the ability to go into session management. Okay, I recommend that you all do this. All right, just click on session management. And this is what will show you if you have any Verifyle sessions open on other browsers or on other devices so that you can close them out. And even more importantly, I would say, this is where you can move your cursor to click on this little circle right here and slide it over to wherever you would like and indicate to Verifyle the amount of time after which, if you have been inactive in Verifyle, that the Verifyle system will automatically sign you out. Okay, I like to leave it at about 1 or 2 hours, and I recommend that you do the same. This is especially helpful for those of you who might forget to log out of your Verifyle system after you use it. Okay, the other thing I want to mention here is that you can also turn on or off your two-factor authentication inside of Verifyle. Okay, all right. So that's kind of the high-level overview that I wanted to give all of you. Hopefully now all of you have a good sense for using your Verifyle Pro system. I see that a number of people actually joined the presentation late, So I want to reiterate that all of you as CALDA members have the ability to use the premium version of Verifyle, which is Verifyle Pro. It is the paid version of Verifyle. You can use it at no charge to you or anyone at all with whom you would like to share information. You get access to the full suite of capabilities inside of Verifyle, including unlimited electronic signatures capability. Okay, so we very much appreciate CALDA for being a great partner of ours. And I appreciate all of you taking part in the presentation today. I did say that I would attempt to get to some questions here, so let's quickly take a look. I see some questions related to getting access. To get access to your Verifyle Pro system, just go to verifyle.com, sign in for free there, okay? And when you sign in, be sure that you use the email address by which CALDA recognizes you to be a member. Otherwise, you will soon be asked to supply your credit card number, and you should not have to do that because CALDA has picked up that tab for you, okay? And in terms of limits, there is no file size limit, okay? And your overall limit is 100 gigabytes of encrypted storage space. The other question I see here relates to how long information stays in Verifyle. Your information stays in Verifyle is the best way to think about it. So it's also an ideal place to store information. But hopefully, as you have come to understand from the presentation, you do have the ability, if you create a workspace like the client Christine Carson workspace, because in this case, I am the host of this workspace. I, as the host, do have the ability to go in and go to the gear symbol for any document, okay? And only I, the host of this workspace, can delete that document. Okay, so that checkup document has now been deleted. Similarly, for the workspace threads, the different topical threads that I've created, because I'm the host of this workspace, at any time can go in and click on the gear symbol, and I can go ahead and delete the thread if I would like. Let's get rid of the therapy and counseling workspace thread. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that workspace thread for therapy and counseling. Now it's gone. And yes, I can even go home where I will see my list of different workspaces. And in your world, probably that will mainly be your various clients that you work with. And if I really want to get rid of the workspace client, Christine Carson, I can do that. It's a two-step process. All I need to do is, remember, whenever things are unclear, you go to the gear. I go to the gear symbol. The first step is that I archive the workspace. There we go. So now the client Christine Carson workspace is no longer in the active colored area at the top here, but it's down here in the archive area. And by the way, if anyone adds a document or a message here, it's going to automatically bump back up into the active colored workspace area. Okay, but I, as the host of this workspace, can click on the gear symbol at any time and manually unarchive this workspace to kick it back up here. Or, as you can guess, I can simply click delete workspace to get rid of the client Christine Carson workspace, and now it is completely gone. Okay, with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. And if I didn't get to your particular question, somebody from Verifyle will be certain to do so. All right, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time watching today's demonstration, and I hope you get a lot of pleasant utility from using your Verifyle Pro system. Thank you.